Welcome to the Titans Time Podcast, your Tennessee Titans podcast for the Pigskin Podcast Network. My name is Tanner Staggs, and joining me, as always, my brother Tyler Staggs. And we're here for our second live show after the Titans win over the Indianapolis Colts 34-31 in overtime. We've got Titans Rossi joining us on the live show today. But while we're waiting on people to roll in, Tyler, I don't know if you want to bring him in first or if you want to go ahead and run through how they can support the show.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and run through that right quick. Guys, if you want to support the show, go check out our merch. All you have to do is go to titans-time.myshopify.com/collections/all. And if you're watching us live on YouTube right now and you're not subscribed, go ahead, click that subscribe button, turn it gray, turn on the post notifications so you never miss when we upload our game previews, our game reactions, or when we go live like right now. Later on, we'll be uploading the audio version of this podcast. So go find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure you're following. Leave us a 5-star rating. Leave us some comments. Coming back to YouTube, leave us some comments on this video. Let us know your thoughts on the game and share the video. We really appreciate it. And hit that like button.
Also, make sure you're following us on social media. On Twitter, it's Titans_time. On Facebook, Titans Time. And on Instagram, Titans Time Podcast.
And now we will go ahead and bring Titans Rossi in with us. How's it going, man?
What's up, guys? I just saw my cat walking across the screen there.
Is that Titans Rusty?
Nah, that's Louie. He don't really he's I don't know. I think he's more of a Bengals fan.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with him, but but yeah, that's Louie. He's the older one, but yeah, man, I'm glad to be on the show. I'm glad to finally get to meet your brother, and looking forward to this show. Crazy game, so much to unfold here. It's crazy.
Definitely,
really
man.
is.
It's nice to meet you, and once again, we're glad to have you on here. So,
and Rossi, go ahead and tell everyone where they can find you at.
Yeah, and y'all got it down there, so you can see it down there too. But on YouTube, just Titans Rossi, RSSI, and Twitter at Titans Rossi. So I just started kind of broadcasting live to Twitter too. I did it tonight. I don't still got to work out the kinks, but might start doing that too to get a little more, interaction going on too.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I know I was in your live stream when you were talking about the Twitter stuff, and we've kind of had the same problem with like the comments if people are watching on Twitter. Because we're looking at the comments trying to catch everybody, and it seemed like all of them were coming from YouTube. And I'm like,
yeah,
okay, how do we know if people from, Twitter are putting comments out there? Because we don't want to exclude anybody.
Yeah, I'll have to figure it out. I'm not sure. I have to go on Google and research it and all that, but we'll get it figured out.
And it looks like we already have some comments rolling in here. Got my wife saying, "Woo, let's go, tighten up." Got Evan. Is that Tatum?
Tatum.
Penalty. Tatum. Hey, I blanked out. I'm brain dead how that game was. Penalties almost made me cry this game.
Oh my gosh! Don't even get me started.
Then we have FTC. Their tears are delicious from Recon Soldier 135 and Clowney Super Bowl. Nice to see you here in the chat. Harold Landry and Kevin Byard should be in the Pro Bowl. I agree.
Yeah,
with that. They are absolutely going off this season.
Yeah, Kevin Byard's been huge the past couple of games with punching the balls out and getting those fumbles.
Yeah, he's playing back to his form, like he's just and I was on I don't know if you guys know Bring the Juice. They're like one of the I think they're like the most popular Colts YouTube podcast. But they've invited me on a couple times, and I was on their show this week. And I was telling them, I was like, Kevin Byard's going to have to make a play in this game. I just had a feeling about it, and I do kind of got to put Derek on blast. He runs the channel, and he did say the Colts 28 and the Titans 17. So just got to throw that out there,
Hey, I like it. We had some people. We're trying to get people more involved in our game preview shows. So we're doing, putting out there to get the bold predictions and score predictions. And one of our friends of the show, Jacob Patterson, he told us that, Vegas was trying to tell us something with how the Colts opened up as favorites. He was saying that this was the lock of the millennium. Colts were going to win. And he said 17-10. And I was like, I just don't see that being the case. I think the Titans are going to find a way. Now, granted,
I think there was no way this game was going to be that low scoring.
Oh, no.
I mean, yeah. Definitely not.
And I said, this game, I knew, look, man, the Colts they're coming in this game super important for them, probably a lot more than it was for us. I mean, it was important for us, but I mean, we're talking about if they win, they're a game and a half down in the division, and this division's still neck and neck pretty much. So this was a massive game for them. So I knew they were going to come out and play tough. I mean, when he told me 28-17, I was like, man, I'm glad you're confident for your team. But even I said 27-24, I knew it was going to be one of those type of games. I just didn't realize it was going to be like that crazy.
Right. Yeah, I think Tanner and I both agreed that this was going to be a close game all the way up to the end. I think I gave a score prediction of 31-30 with the Titans winning. And, I was only a little off of that in regulation. All I needed was the Titans to block that extra point when the Colts tied it up, and I'd have been spot on. But, start of this game, I wasn't worried per se because there was a lot of time left and, a lot of ball game left to play. But when they went up 14-0, I was like, okay, we're going to have to, get our heads out of our ass and get to playing some ball here.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring this up because it talks about we don't need Derrick Henry to win games. And, I mean, I was glad to see that even without us able to get him going, and then obviously now we're seeing that he does have a foot injury, even though they were saying all throughout the game that, they kind of just ignored it and said that he didn't have anything going on with him. But early on, it looked like this is going to be terrible, especially if we can't get Henry going. But I was glad to see that they were able to still manage and even come out with a win in this game without being able to have one of those huge Derrick Henry performances.
Yeah, it was and even last week, he didn't really have, other than him throwing the TD, like as far as game changing plays, he didn't do too much. And I don't know, how we won't know. I mean, until somebody says or he says, but I don't know how much the injury affected him today as far as his explosiveness and this and that. But, one thing that I kind of noticed throughout the game too was it just didn't seem like we were being real creative in the run game. Like it was just kind of, run up the middle. They did a few, toss plays and pitch plays, and those seemed to kind of get them open a little more. And it was just, I don't know if that was by design or because he wasn't at 100%. I don't know. I don't know if y'all noticed that at all.
Yeah, I did. It seemed like you said, on the toss plays and stuff like that, there was a little bit more room for him to kind of get going. And, going back to his injury, it was one of those things where when they had his shoe off, you're asking the question of, okay, is he injured? What's going on? But then I didn't really think he was necessarily playing like anything was wrong with his foot.
Yeah.
But now if they're coming out and saying that, something is, like you said, we won't find out till, and I think Evan points it out right here, said, we won't really get an official status on him until Wednesday. I mean, that's when we'll know more on that. But yeah, there was just a lot of the run plays that we had, like you said, they were just so predictable. I know even in the second half, going down to the wire there, or it may have been overtime, they had Henry off the field for first down. They brought him in on second down, and you can just see the safety. He comes running up to the line before Tannehill even snaps the ball. And then as soon as Tannehill takes the snap and hands it to Henry, the safety's right there on him. I'm like, they seen that coming a mile away.
Yeah.
Like it was way too predictable.
Yeah. There was also, and I think Downing overall has done a pretty good job. I mean, if you look at the overall the season, there was just a couple of times where it's like, I don't know if it was at the very end. It was like one of those last drives, and I think it was the drive in overtime when, we got the ball back after we stopped the Colts. We got the ball back, and it was like, what, it was 2nd and 10 or something.
Right.
And if I'm wrong, correct me, but I think it was then, and they run it right up the middle. And it's just like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, it's obviously not working, and then we throw it to, I think it was AJ or somebody, and we're a yard short of the first down. We got to punt it. And it's just like, come on, man. Like, what are we doing here? But I mean, kudos to the whole team. I mean, they fought back. They clawed. They fought. I mean, it was just, I had a bad feeling at the end of the game. I was just like, first of all, we had 52 yards and penalties, and
yeah, something like that.
Something ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. And okay, I get it, right? Like, some of those pass interference, they were pass interference, but the one on the dude near the end zone, I can't remember when it was. There were so many of them. I don't know if it was Maben or somebody, but the guy, like, obviously sold it really well. Like, yes, it probably was pass interference, but the way I look at it is the Colts knew they could get that done. Like, they weren't beating us deep, really. They were beating us deep with pass interference penalties. Now, that's the same as beating us deep, right? I mean, because they're getting the yards. But I did feel like, other than a few bonehead plays, like, we did pretty good on them defensively. Like, we did pretty good on Wentz for the most part. Like, he only had like 236 yards. It was those pass interference penalties that kept them in the game. Like, what do you guys think about the penalties overall? Like, I think both sides, they were kind of like hit and miss. Like, but what do y'all think? Do you think, like, they were trying to help the Colts win almost? Or
well, it's certainly. Go ahead, Tanner.
I definitely think there were bad calls on both sides. It kind of seemed like, though, that the penalties that came against the Titans came at such
a more critical time.
A lot more critical times. And I mean, it makes sense, honestly, if you think about it, that, and I'm not trying to get into any deep NFL rigged game conspiracies here, but that they wouldn't want the AFC South to be wrapped up yet. I mean, that just makes sense for viewership down the road. But it definitely seemed like, even though there were calls on both sides that were questionable, the calls against the Titans were like, okay, what a terrible time to have this right now.
Yeah.
And that's my thing. I mean, I think we can all agree that Indianapolis's best offense is the defensive pass interference calls.
Yeah.
I mean, really, because
if you add those yards into his passing total, he's probably got like close to 400 yards or more.
Like, I actually looked at Tanner at one point after one of the pass interference calls, and I said, Wentz has the best underthrown deep ball in the NFL. Like, because that's all it is. Even going back to the 49ers game when they played them, they were able to get so many pass interference calls, and I told Tanner, for our defensive backs, they need to watch out for that. It's going to be underthrown. Just turn around and play the ball.
Yeah.
And there were a couple times they got their head around, but then there were some that were very obvious. I didn't like how, I guess for all fans, you just want them to call it, like if they're going to call something one way, they need to call it both ways. Like when they threw the flag on Simmons for hitting Pittman in the back after guys had him wrapped up. Like, for one, you need to blow the whistle a lot earlier than what they did, because Simmons hit him before the whistle was ever blown, and then they throw the flag. But then you have Henry running the ball, I think it was like one of his 9-yard runs or something like that.
Yeah.
And they do helmet to helmet, hit him right in the face, and nothing's thrown for that for unnecessary roughness.
Yeah.
So it's like, instead they call a hold on Chester Rogers. Like, what?
And one thing too, like this game, AJ Brown was amazing, right? And one thing too that I noticed, it was like, I look, I love a win. I'm not like trying to complain or anything like that. People were kind of crucifying me in my chat because I was kind of complaining a little bit. And I'm like, well, look, I mean, these are some things, and when Julio is not in the game, when we don't have Julio and AJ in the game, we're having issues like with people stepping up. Now, Nick Westbrook-Akeen, like, I have no issues with him. Like, every time he's asked to make a play, it seems like he does. Like, that dude, for, being on the practice squad before and coming up and fighting his way and making the blocks that he makes and all that. But there's guys out there that just aren't getting any separation, like Chester Rogers, just not doing much anything. It's, we need that extra somebody that can get out there and make a few plays. Now, we did have the tight ends come. For a while there, I was like, dang, we haven't even thrown to a wide receiver, like in the first quarter or something. But I wish we just kind of had that third person. It was supposed to be Reynolds before the season, but I wish we just kind of had that third person.
I was so high on Reynolds before the season. And
I was too.
I don't know what it is. Like, he got so much opportunity with the Rams and he capitalized on it. So in this situation, I don't necessarily know what's going on. I don't know. Did they have more volume? And that was just, his numbers were just coming from the fact that they just simply had a lot more passing attempts. I don't know. But I just figured he would be a guy that would be able to step in and effectively be that number 3 this season. And he just hasn't stepped up to the plate, really.
My honest opinion on that is, I think it comes down to the matchups. Like you mentioned, Rossi, when we have Julio and AJ out there, I mean, the defense is focused on them, especially on if it's like 3rd and long, then you're going to have, and Henry's not in the game, you're going to have the defense focused on AJ and Julio. And that's where you can get a better matchup for your 3rd or 4th guy on the defense, either on a linebacker or the defense's, more their depth corners. But when you have one of our top guys out, like Julio, it puts more pressure on Marcus Johnson. It puts pressure on Reynolds. Those guys are having to usually go against a team's second corner, and they can't get that separation. And some of it could also be play design. If you really think about it, maybe when Reynolds was with the Rams, they just had better play designs for how to move him around to get a more favorable matchup. And that's maybe not happening, because even when Julio and AJ have both been good to go for games, we'll have plays where both of them will be off the field, and we have our third and fourth, even fifth guy out there trying to make plays for us.
Well, they do have the GOAT out there calling the plays for the Rams. So, I mean, that's definitely possible. Like, it doesn't get much better than the Ram play calling.
What do y'all what do y'all think about Janoris, how he did today? Who do y'all know who he lined up on today mostly? Was it Pittman or?
I think it. Who was it that he would have been?
I mean, Pittman's their number one, so I figured he was probably on Pittman most of the day.
I think he played, with the exception of the first two touchdowns that Pittman had. So the first touchdown, Maben was on Pittman.
Yeah.
And they switched, and he beat Molden. And then on the second touchdown, he beat Maben.
Okay.
At first, I was curious as to why Maben was on Pittman in the first place anyways. It just didn't make sense to me. But I think he played Pittman, Janoris Jenkins, I think he played Pittman a good number of times after that. I also want to say that there were times that he was on Pascal.
Yeah,
but
I about to say that I think that's right, because, and I think it was just depending on which side Pittman would line up on. I don't think that they were flipping like Janoris and Maben around on the sides that they were covering. Like if Maben was on the left side and Pittman come over there, then okay, that's going to be your responsibility. Keep him from. Go ahead.
I think that Janoris played a better than average game for what he's been playing this season. Personally, I mean, you didn't have the penalties that he's known to have, and then I feel like there's been a lot of times this season where he's just gotten beat in situations that he definitely shouldn't have, and I didn't notice any of those today. And it actually seemed like he wasn't, with all the pass interference calls that there were, it didn't seem like he was one of the guys that was getting a lot of them. But that was something I wanted to bring up, is that on these deep balls, these defensive backs have got to get more accustomed to turning around to look at the ball so they don't get that called, instead of just continuing on running. And the receiver obviously stops because, like Tyler mentioned, they're all underthrown, and they just completely run them over.
Yeah.
I mean, if Wentz actually put those balls out in front of his receiver, all honesty, they probably have so many easy walk-in touchdowns.
Yeah.
Because they had guys beat. And which, granted, we would get the pass interference called on us and the Colts would end up scoring anyway. But, yeah, like you said, Tanner, they just – and there were a couple times they were turning their heads around, like the pass interference on Hooker. He turned and was looking for the ball, seen it, but when he turned back around, the Colts receiver had stopped and was right there. So he hit him, and that kept Hooker from being able to try and make a play on the ball. So really, he's kind of in a lose-lose situation right there, because he's turning, looking for the ball, doesn't know that the receiver stopped, and he runs into him, and it gets the flag drawn.
And so, like, against the Wentz is known to kind of make dumb plays, and you saw it in the game today. Like, it was on full display. Like the little shovel passes and all. He just needs to take that out of his game. Like he's just, and I think Wentz can be a good quarterback. Like He is at times, like he's played well at times, but when you're going up against somebody like Matthew Stafford, and then you got the guys that the Rams have, Cooper Kupp, and who's their other big receiver?
Robert Woods.
Robert Woods. I'm not. I just don't think Stafford's going to make those type of mistakes, like Wentz is going to make. Getting Christian Fulton back, people are saying that he's coming back this week. I don't know. I haven't heard that. Do y'all know anything about that?
I don't know. I hope so, because they need him. They need him bad.
I think he's eligible to, I believe, because he went on IR right before the Bills game. So that would mean the Bills game, Chiefs, and then this game he missed. So he at least had to be on there 3 weeks. So depending on how his rehab is going, he could very well be back against the Rams. So, but I definitely don't want the Titans to rush him back, because yes, I would love for the Titans to go out to LA Sunday Night Football and beat the Rams, who are another top team. But out of this 4-game stretch, I mean, all honesty, the Titans have done what I wanted them, what I was hoping for. They beat the Colts, and they got 2 other big wins out of this 4-game stretch. Like, if you told me before this stretch, the Titans are going to come out of this stretch 3-1, and one of those wins will be against the Colts to, just put a stranglehold on the AFC South, I'd be like, yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
I think that this next week's game is like a very, very likely Super Bowl matchup. So I personally need to see that the Titans can play with them, because I think that the Rams are, I don't know, I'm looking at the Bucks here, possibly about to get beat by the Saints. I think the Rams are probably the most likely team to come out of the NFC in the Super Bowl there. So I need to see that they can play with them. They need Derrick Henry. We need to see how his injury is looking, because there's a lot of uncertainty with that. I think they need Christian. I think they need all hands on deck, because the Rams are a tough team.
Well, and even Tannehill, he, towards the end of this game, he was kind of beat up, and you could tell that he wasn't necessarily feeling the best. So we're going to have him getting back healthy too. I mean, this year has just been crazy for the Titans with injuries going on.
Wow, the Saints just picked 6 Brady.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow. PJ Williams just picked 6 Brady.
Yeah, that's ball game.
Yeah, that's it. Because they're up 2 scores now?
They hit this extra point right here. They're going to be up 9.
Oh, wow. I really don't like that, because I got Brady in a couple fantasy leagues and I needed them points. But it is what it is.
How different things would be if the Brady to the Tennessee Titans would have actually went through in free agency a couple seasons ago.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't. What he had done is good in Tennessee. I
don't know, man.
Depends on.
That's a good question, because you look at our defense last year. I mean, would he have been able to overcome how bad our defense was last year?
Yeah. I don't know.
This is what I like to see right here. A Rams-Titans Super Bowl.
I also picked the Rams-Titans Super Bowl. And it's a very likely scenario to happen, If it depends on, I think we're a darn good team. I mean,
yeah.
Look, we've been underdogs. We were an underdog today. I found that out today. I thought we were actually favored. But it's like, good Lord, man. Like, you go and you beat the Bills on Monday Night Football. Then you beat the holy crap out of the Chiefs. And then it's insane, man. Like, it's so insane. And I'm interested to see what the line is going into this game. I think right now it's like we're 5-point dogs. I'm sure that will go up, but I hear you, Tanner. Like, I think that it would be good to see where we match up, how well we match up good with the Rams. It would be good to see. Like, can we play them toe to toe?
Yeah, because I mean, we've beat some of the best teams in the AFC. I mean, you've got the Bills, and even though the Chiefs have struggled, like I still put them up there in that category. Let's go to the other conference and see what happens against one of their best teams, because I mean, I can't remember exactly, which I expected. I haven't looked at the line yet, but I expected obviously to be underdogs. I think the Titans are just like officially the underdogs, because I mean, dogs to the Bills, dogs to the Chiefs, dogs to the Colts, and like they just keep winning. So, and then I can't. Who did they play before that? Were they underdogs in that game?
Before that, they played the Jags.
Okay, so they wouldn't have been underdogs.
They were definitely dogs to like Seattle and any somewhat bigger team is we're going to be underdogs too, but that's the way we like it, right?
Oh yeah, I think we play better like that. I'm gonna get to more of these comments here.
Yeah.
Power Hour, nice to have you in the chat here. He says Tannehill continues to fight through early adversity and lead when called upon when Henry couldn't get going. That's what Tennessee has lacked for years and now has. And everyone make sure to go check out the Power Hours channel too. He puts out great content. Then my wife's saying it's like Wentz could count on having a pass interference call if he threw a deep ball into the end zone. His smirk after each time too, like, dude, yeah, she was really fired up this game.
I can't stand the Colts. I can't stand them. I can't stand their colors, their whole attitude, Wentz, all of them. Anyways, go ahead.
Oh, you're good. Clowney Super Bowl. You should make a video showing off your Titans collection. I'll definitely try and get that going. It's nothing major yet, but working on it. Bill saying 3.5 game lead. Is it 3.5 or is it 4 since we have the tiebreaker over them?
I'm not sure.
So they've got a 3-game lead over the Colts, and then I thought that having the sweep on them in the division, I don't know, how does that count?
I thought that was like
basically
a full game, but it may be a half game.
Yeah.
I think it would be a half game, because then if you tied, you would still have that half game lead, and you would end up winning out. But if they had a game over you would, even though you had the division, you beat them twice, they would still. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Right? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I think you're right.
And then my wife saying, I think all my hair would fall out from stress if we made it all the way to the Super Bowl. I mean,
well, I hope it does. I hope we do, man.
we'll buy you a wig, babe. Don't worry.
Yeah. Will you sacrifice your hair for the Carrie? Will you sacrifice your hair for the Titans to get to the Super Bowl?
We know Mike Vrabel is willing to sacrifice some stuff. So
yeah. And then Power Hour, Mamba mentality. Just keep the mindset. Job's not finished. That's right. And
yeah, we still got another game to win against the Rams. So
Tanner, I think this will be a good time right now just to hop into one of our segments. We have it on our game preview, and this is really the only segment we have in our game review. Our best bets segment here.
Yeah, and of course, Best Bets is presented to you by DraftKings. We gave you some games in the game preview video that you could have took advantage of the DraftKings promo for. The Rams game and the Bills game could have ended up winning on both of those, basically. And I think you could take advantage of this next week as well.
I think it runs through next week as well.
So once again, in the game preview, we'll be giving you that. And then obviously you've still got Monday night. But basically you can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game. If they win it, you win $200 in free bets. So, I mean, let's see, Monday night game. I can't even remember who plays the Monday night game, but hey, put $5 down. If your team wins, you get $200 in free bets. If the sports book is not available in your state, DraftKings won't leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contest. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TPPN. Bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code TPPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Man, that always tires you out, doesn't it?
Yeah, I have yet to get through it without being out of breath. But let's quickly run through our bets that we had for this week. I know that my same game parlay hit, and I can't remember exactly what the numbers were on it, but
what was your
that one
parlay?
hit, and then I had. I'm trying to get it pulled up here. I also had the weekly special of Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor to get combined rushing yards of over 199, and they did not do that, so I missed on that one. And give me 1 second here.
Man, you're supposed to have all this pulled up.
I know. The same game parlay was Titans plus 7.5 and over 44.5 points in the game. So that one hit, and that puts me at like 4-12 so far this season. So I really didn't. I'm still not in a good spot.
Well, my two. As far as weekly, I'm still batting 50% here. First one, I had Henry going for over 103.5 yards, and he did not hit that. He had 68 yards. So, just missed that by just a little. And then the other one, I told you, I did not think Indianapolis was going to win this game. They were favored to, and I said go with the Titans money line. At the time, it was plus 130. So, I'm happy to hit on that one. Means the Titans won, and I think that moves me up to
6-12. So you stay at 50%.
6-12. So I stay at 50%.
Nice.
Yep.
So, Rossi, you a betting man or anything?
Not really. I don't know too much about it. Other than me and my boss will bet on a game every so often. He always bets against the Titans, of course, just to rev me up. But I might be about 50%. I don't know.
Well, hey, you could have been winning some money over these last 3 weeks then, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with
last week I could have, but we didn't bet last week.
Oh man. Oh, then say hi to a couple more people here. SM Ducky coming in. Hey there, Ducky.
The cat man.
Oh yeah, Indianapolis penalties like that. Calvin in late, tighten up. Yes, tighten up, Calvin. And we can get back to talking about this game. I want to get y'all's opinion. Whenever this game started up and everything, Colts went down, scored that first touchdown. They converted on 2 4th downs that drive, one of which was for the touchdown. And then Titans get the ball. Tannehill, I have no idea what he thought he was seeing on that throw where he threw the interception. And really, if he would have waited another second, he had AJ coming across the middle wide open. And, like I said, Colts pick it off, go down, score, and then we punt. So the Colts get it back. What was y'all's thoughts at that moment? Down 14-0, and we've already given the ball back to them.
I don't think you want to know my actual thoughts. But to keep it PG, I thought we were. I thought it was over. I'm going to be honest. I thought there was no chance at that point with the game script completely leading to having to take Derrick Henry out of the game almost. And then I think that was about at the same time that you see him with the shoe off on the sideline. And obviously it was a good thing that he was able to come back in because just his presence on the field, I mean, it's huge. It completely keeps the defense from being able to completely step back and play against the pass. So I think even though he wasn't really that effective, him being able to come back in and just do a little bit and honestly play decoy a little bit was huge for the passing game. And I mean, hey, I'll admit it, I was completely wrong because they turned it around real quick, which is probably, if they didn't turn things around as quickly as they did, I don't know if they would have been able to come back, but they were able to make it a game quickly.
Yeah, and there was a 4th down, and I was trying to look at it on the plays here, but I don't know where it's at. But anyways, there was like a 4th and 2 on that when they were down 14-0.
Mm-hmm.
There was like a 4th and 2 or something that we converted. And at the time I was thinking, this is the biggest play of the game right here. Like, I was just thinking, if we don't convert this and they get the ball back and they, somehow go up, 21-0 or even 17-0, I just knew at that moment, I was like, this is the play of the game, and we converted it. It was like a 4th and 1, 4th and 2 or something. And I thought that was extremely crucial as far as how the game went. I wasn't like all hope is lost. And the reason I say this, Tanner, too, is because I know how Wentz can just screw a game up, so I just felt like if we could kind of claw back in, if we could get a touchdown kind of.
Yeah, I agree with you there because.
Oh, go ahead. You there?
Sorry, my Wi-Fi is like crapping out right now. But
I can still see you.
Yeah, I told Tyler am I good now?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, we see you. You've been moving the whole time.
Cool. I told Tyler at one point towards the end of the game, I was like, Wentz is like, he is either completely to one side or completely to the other. He's either making incredible plays for Carson Wentz anyways, or he absolutely looks like he's never played football before. Like, I feel like there's not a whole lot of in between for him. And I didn't know that he could go from one spectrum to the other in a matter of 5 minutes, but that definitely helped out today.
Well, and that's like right before Moulton's interception that he took in for a touchdown right there at the goal line. I looked at Tanner and I said, we need one of those classic Carson Wentz, I'm going to screw this up for my team plays. And that's exactly what we got. Credit to Bud Dupree. He fell down right in front of Wentz and then got back up and still able to wrap him up. And, I get it. I get why Wentz tried to throw it out of the end zone, because if you take a safety there, you have to give the ball right back to the Titans.
That's practically game.
Right. But it's still one of those things where you're like, okay, that's one of those mistakes. And then in overtime, still trying to feed the hot hand of Pittman, who I have to give credit to Pittman. That guy, he'll go up and make a play on the ball. He's a really good receiver. But Byard coming in clutch, getting that interception at the end of the game, like you said, you called it. He's going to have to make a big play, and he did. He redeemed himself for the pass interference. But coming back to the start of the game, like what you were talking about, I didn't lose hope because I was like, okay, this is still early in the game. Like, if we get a stop and can go down and score, then that kind of gets a little bit of momentum going. And the drive that we scored on was just, like you said, Tannehill finding the tight ends. And they were his best friends on that drive.
Yeah, early on, it was like it was all tight ends, and I was honestly wondering where AJ Brown was at because, like, I mean, coming in, no Julio Jones. AJ's got to have a huge game, and he obviously did. He had like 150 something yards, and the touchdown. But I don't know. I'm a lot easier to I guess count them out early on.
You're pessimistic.
Yeah.
I mean, if things start going bad, you're like, okay, it's done. But AJ just shows what can happen when you get the ball in his hands. His first catch, and he breaks it off for a 50-something yard touchdown. And right quick, shout out TA. Yes, what a game. How's it going, man? I actually did end up seeing right before we went live where you were going live, man. So definitely didn't mean to go live at the same time as you. Power Hour said at the first of the game, he was like, well, time's still on the clock. So
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I guess I come into kind of every game for the Titans where I have this feeling that, and I still sort of feel this way. Today went different. I was completely wrong about that. But I said this to you during the game, Tyler. I feel like the Titans right now, well, and mostly in the recent past, they are one of the worst teams in the NFL at adjusting after things are going wrong early on in the game. And I know that the Seahawks game doesn't really prove that to be true. This game doesn't really prove that to be true. But it seems like in the past couple of years, there's been a lot of games where things go wrong from the beginning. And for example, Bengals game, Jets game. And it seems like games where they're definitely better than the team that they're playing against. It seems like that's where it happens more than anything. When they're playing a more elite opponent, it seems like that's not necessarily the case. But I guess I don't consider the Colts necessarily to be an elite opponent. So I was sort of like, okay, this is not good. This is looking like Jets. This is looking like Bengals. And that's kind of where that came from my end.
And to touch on that too, and the Power Hour said something earlier about Tannehill. Tannehill continues to fight through early adversity and lead when called upon when Henry couldn't get going. I think we're kind of seeing the difference a little bit, like in then and now, like in last season, maybe the season prior when he came in relief for Mariota. Like, even though his stats haven't been great this year and he's thrown more picks, I just feel like that he's stepping up as a leader a little bit more. You saw it in the Kansas City game last week. You saw it today, like where now there's times where, look, there's going to be times this year where Henry's going to have, 150, 200 yards in a game, and then he's going to have 70 because they're just going to stack the hell out of the box. I mean, that's what they're going to do. Every team, and especially in Julio and AJ aren't in there at the same time, they're not scared of our other receivers, So I just think that, there's something a little different about Tannehill this year. Now,
yeah, I agree with that.
I just feel like that he is starting to step up a little bit more, and now he's starting to kind of take over a game a little bit, where if Henry's not firing on all cylinders or the defense is just stopping him, I feel like Tannehill's starting to make some plays. Now, that doesn't make up for what he did earlier on in the game, like you were saying, Tyler, about when he threw to 4, Colts jerseys. I was jumping up and screaming, said, what in the hell are you doing? Like, what? Where are you throwing it, brother? Like, what's going on? Like, I told my wife, I said, I could have made a better decision than that. Probably not, but but it's just like I said early on, it's like, I wish, and I said this on my show, and people are getting on to me, I guess, because I'm complaining about a win or whatever, but it's like, the guy needs to learn how to throw the ball away. I mean, like, he never throws it away to the sidelines. He never will throw the ball at somebody's feet, kind of just throwing it away. It's like, bro, throw the freaking ball away.
Now that you say that, like, he's probably one of the worst about it. It's like,
yeah,
it's like he feels like he can't surrender the play like that. He's like, I've got to at least make something happen.
yeah.
Well,
Whether
because
it's
we've
me
seen,
holding the ball for 15 seconds and getting crushed by somebody on the defensive line.
I think it is because you look back at last year, how many times did he sit in the pocket and,
Yeah.
I mean, stand in there till the very last second and just deliver a strike downfield to someone, and he took the hit. And I think that's what he's waiting on. He's like, I'm going to stand back here. Someone's fixing to come open here in just a second, and I'm going to, I'm going to deliver the ball to him. And it's just not working out for him like that this year because the pressure is getting to him a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And, that's what led to really his second interception that he had is a guy come off the edge completely unblocked. And instead of just trying to throw it away, he tried to force it. And luckily it was a defensive lineman that picked it off. And obviously don't wish injury on anybody. I mean, that looked like a very bad injury, but we called a break.
Oh my gosh.
He fumbled the ball.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Berkshire was able to get back and recover it. And I do feel sorry for that Colts player because he's sitting there just, you can tell, in pain with his knee, and you got everybody else piling on the ball
upper half
right
of his
next to him.
body.
Yeah.
He's just getting mauled from the waist up.
He's trying to get to his knee.
The worst scenario, because his knee is, you could just tell it is in pain. And then he's stuck in the bottom of the pile with the upper half of his body where there's no telling what is going on under there. And so I would have not wanted to have been in that situation.
What about the play he made? And I don't know if I've ever seen Tannehill make a play like he did today where he was running over to the sideline to his left and he contorted his body and made that throw. I was like, damn, that's like a Mahomes type of play he made. I mean, and it's like he'll dude, like you said, Tanner, like he can throw some dimes where you're like, holy crap. He knows where to put the football. He knows how to hit them in stride. A lot of quarterbacks can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, and he's mobile. Like, I liked how they used them today. Those two plays where they called him to run, the fake handoff to Henry's, a little bootleg or whatever. Those were genius calls at the moment. You know what I mean? And I like how they have that in their back pocket. And I like how they're not really using it a whole lot because there's going to come times where we're playing teams like the Rams where we're going to have to pull that out, and it's going to be crucial.
Oh, yeah, that read option that he does there with Henry.
Yeah.
It was a couple of big plays for us because, like you said, we've ran it a little bit this year, but nowhere near as much as we were like last year.
Yeah.
And, the Colts they weren't expecting it. And Tannehill's able to break out for a big run, move the chains for us. And I'm glad Kent said this because I know you said you had some people in your stream getting on to you for kind of complaining about, not necessarily complaining about a win, but how the game was played. He said, glad we won the game, but we definitely have to play better. And that's the big key. And why, you're definitely right in still criticizing the team is, yes, we won, but the way they played this game, it could have easily went the other way, and we could have let the Colts right back into the race for the AFC South.
Yeah, I think it's okay to say, like, hey, they won this game. That's awesome. But also, there's like all these things to be concerned about at the same time. Like, A, the start of the game, not great. B, they can't continue to do what they've done with the pass interference calls. Now, some of the pass interference calls were completely bogus. And then there were also those like I mentioned earlier, where they're just not turning around and completely running the guys over. I mean, if a good coach sees that, they're going to tell their guys to take advantage of that. And so that's something that's got to be fixed moving forward, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And everyone in the chat, thank y'all are just really lighting it up. And make sure you go hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed already, go subscribe. And my wife's saying, how about that play where they had AJ trying his hand at QB? And
if he just had a little more time.
Yeah, really, if he had just a couple more seconds, Reynolds was probably fixing to have a touchdown this game.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned, he threw it away. Maybe in practice this week, AJ can go up to Tannehill and tell him, like, look, nothing's there. This is what you do. You just throw it to the sidelines.
So Reynolds did play today.
Yeah,
he did.
That was him on that. Okay. Man,
I wish
he could step up. I want so bad for Reynolds to do well in this offense. It's just the guy, I mean, he's obviously got talent. Look, I mean, every year he's been in the league up until this year, he's improved. If you look at his stats, it was like 200, 300, 400, 600 last year. The guy's got talent, and it makes you wonder. It's like, what happened? You know what I mean? Like, are they just not getting him the ball? Is he just not the right fit in their offense? What's going on? Like, this guy should be like our like solid third guy, borderline second, according to what he's done in his past. So it's like, what's up with the guy? Like, I know he's been hurt, he was hurt to start the season, but me as a fan, I just feel like it's like, man, I wish the guy would just show up. And he did in one game. He had like 60 yards. Remember, it was against I can't remember who it was against. Might have been the Jets or somebody. He was like one of our.
I want to say it was the Jets.
Yeah, I think it was the Jets.
Yeah, and y'all correct me if you think I'm wrong, but it sort of seems like this offense is, and it's going to seem like at first that this is not true, because there has been some games where they've gotten some yards, like Reynolds, where he had the 60-yard game like you were talking about. But it seems like that comes at times where either AJ or Julio or both are out. It seems like when Julio and AJ are both there, this offense is not really geared towards any scenario where a third or fourth option gets a lot of work. It seems like it is a lot of AJ and Julio in bulk, and everybody else is few and far between.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to really I think it's more the situational football, because we know for the most part on early downs, the Titans are probably not going to have 3 or 4 receivers out there on the field. They're going to have their tight ends out there. They're going to have Henry out there, and then maybe at most like 2 receivers. And they're going to run those plays. And then if they get in, like a second and long, third and long, that's when they bring more of those guys in. But if you have AJ and Julio out there, you're probably trusting your playmakers more, that, going to them to get the yardage that you need. And just, since AJ, was playing this game, going and looking, do you know who the second leading receiver for us was today?
Probably Swaim,
I think.
McNichols had 3 catches for 33 yards, and Swaim had 4 for 23.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then you have AJ with 10 catches for 155.
Yeah.
So, like, AJ, when he's out there, you're trusting him to be that guy and make the plays that we're needing him to make.
Yeah.
And I just don't think, like you said, Tan, I don't think that those other guys are getting the look. Now, is that by play design, or is that by they just can't get the separation?
I feel like it's by I think it's by play design, and I think that Todd Downing's offense, and I feel like it's very similar to obviously what Arthur Smith had going on. I think it's very geared towards we have Derrick Henry, we have AJ, and we have Julio, and we are going to ride that train until the wheels fall off. I don't think they're really even looking to get anyone else involved all that much. I mean, obviously they do when they need to, but when other things are working, they just kind of run their bread and butter and stick with that.
Right. And Rossi, if you can, we'll go for like 15, 20 more minutes, but I do want to definitely get your opinion on this.
Yeah.
Because of last year, whenever Randy goes up there to kick for us, we have a game-winning kick, and he goes out there. Do you still get the nerves because of last year, or are you at the point now where you are completely trusting Randy Bullock that he is going to hit the kick that we need?
I'm starting to, I think I'm starting to gain a lot of trust with Randy. Just because there was a few weeks ago where when he first started kicking for us, the way he kicked, like his balls just didn't look good. Like the way he was kicking them, they were just kind of ugly looking. But now he's kicking like really confidently. Like if you look at the way he's kicking really strong and they look good. And it's just like now I feel pretty good about it. Like today, I felt good, like he was going to make it. You know, he's just been on fire. He's only missed 2 kicks the whole season. So, and it's great. It's great we have a kicker, right? Like it's amazing that we have a decent kicker now. And honestly, if you look back at Bullock's career, he's probably having the best career he's had in ever, maybe.
Yeah, and I mean, I was actually just looking at that. He's at 83. So on average throughout his whole career, he's at 83.4% kicker, and then this season he's kicking at 86.7%, which is up there with what I would say was his best season in 2017, where he kicked 90% with the Bengals. So I mean, it's like right up there with that. It's right up in one of his best 2 or 3 seasons.
He comes out, the gut popping out, and
yeah,
like it's funny because he just doesn't really look like I'm not like calling him fat or anything. Believe me, I got some weight on me too.
I got that belly too. So
but like he don't really like. It looks like he's just sitting on the couch this off season, and he was probably, he probably didn't think he'd probably get on a team or something. And the Titans were like, hey, what about this guy? What about Randy? And they bring him in, and it's kind of rejuvenated his career, and hats off to him. And I saw your comment there, Mark. It was kind of funny how I said that. I thought about it when I said it. I was like, that sounds kind of but anyway,
I wasn't going to say anything. I seen Mark's comment, and I'm like, I'm just going to let that be and let Rossi address it if he wants to.
No, I did. I did when I thought about it. I was like, I kind of worded that a little wrong. But yeah, no, I mean, hats off to the guy, dude. Like, good for him, man. He's winning ball games in the NFL. I mean, not many people can say that in their life. So, good for him, and I hope he keeps it up because we're going to need him. I mean, we're going to need him down any like Super Bowl deep playoff team has good kickers. Like when you never see like a Super Bowl team or a really good playoff team or a good team that doesn't have a good kicker. I think it's crucial. So it's nice to have him back there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm starting to get to that point where I'm not really nervous whenever he comes out to kick. So, I mean, that's definitely good because it's been the past, 3 seasons, it seems like,
Yeah.
Where it's been like
Horrible.
Yeah, and um, it's one of those things where I think back to it now. You go back to last season, and you have just talking about bigger kickers. You have Sam Sloman who comes in and doinks it in for us to win the division, and he's not one of these smaller kickers in the belly area. And
No.
then, we get to this year and we're thinking that we have Sam Ficken, and he's doing good for us. We're feeling confident in him. He gets hurt, and then Randy comes in, and it's like I'm like you. I'm to the point now where I think he's kicking better. He's kicking with more confidence, and aside from like game winning kicks, because I think there's always going to be some nervousness with game winning kicks, because like the game's on the line. If they miss it, you lose. If they make it, you win, or you even tying it up. So there's just that natural nervousness that you're going to have there. But that's all I really feel. I feel confident in his abilities that he will probably make it. But that's kind of where I'm at with it.
This is off the wall with it being right in the middle of the season here. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like I think about this probably a little bit more than what everybody else might think about it. But how much longer do you guys think that we have from Tannehill? Because I mean, honestly, this kind of like Randy Bullock. This is a situation where he comes in and sort of rejuvenates his career. And I mean, he's no Tom Brady. He's not going to play until he's, however.
Yeah.
40,
well, Tannehill has 2 years left, right?
Mm-hmm.
This year, next year, and then, well, how many years is he at?
I think, not counting this year, I think he'll have 2 years left.
Okay.
I believe that's right.
So I guess
They
the more
re-signed him
important
last
question
year.
that I'm asking is, does he make it all the way to the end?
I think that he probably. I mean, really, wouldn't that depend on the team's success, though?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
like, so say the Titans are still doing good with him. Yes, I think he finishes it out. And
is
I'll
what
be
the
honest,
Titans have been doing so far, making it to the AFC Championship and then getting, what was it last season put out in the?
They got put out in wild card.
Wild card.
Yeah.
Is that? I mean, do we got to make it to the Super Bowl for him to be considered at that level of success where you're like, okay, we're going to keep rolling with him, or is what we've been doing satisfactory?
I don't. You go ahead.
Go ahead, Rossi.
No, well, I think for the organization, it probably is because we're winning. We've been winning consistently. I think if you go into the playoffs this year and you don't win at least one playoff game with them, it starts to kind of bring up questions. Now, I think they would still, even if we went one and done this year, I think they would still give him a shot next year. But like you said, Tyler, it depends on his success. Now, if you go deep this year, if you at least make it to the AFC Championship game or something, then yeah, of course you got to keep him, or you got to keep rolling with him. But if he is if we're one and done this year in the playoffs, I think they're still gonna keep him. We'll roll next year with them. But I think you got to start kind of looking for the future. And even if they don't do it this offseason, but the next offseason, and even if he is winning, I don't know. I mean, if it's got to the point where, okay, we're one and done this year, we're one and done next year, I think you got to start looking at drafting somebody for the future.
Right,
The
because
ideal,
this is, well, I mean, we've said it several times. Like, we've got this window where we've got Tannehill playing well, and we've got Derrick Henry playing well. We got these, but I mean, we've got AJ Brown who's young. We've got other good young guys. Like, this doesn't have to be a window as long as you play your cards right, and as long as you're having that, as long as you're finding that balance between making sure you're in a good spot now and still making sure that you're in a good spot in the future as well. I mean, I think that there's that perfect balance.
Like Rossi hit at, even if Tannehill is still, like, say we have a deep playoff run this year, I don't necessarily think there would be anything wrong with, given, depending on what round you would want to grab a guy in, going ahead this next offseason and drafting another quarterback to start grooming for when Tannehill's time's done, because I don't know what you think, Rossi. Tanner and I have talked about this some. I just don't trust Logan Woodside to take over this team.
Like,
if Tannehill, even if Tannehill goes down this year, like, I don't trust Woodside doing anything with the team this year. So they need to find the guy that's going to be the next guy.
Yeah, and in the meantime, he can serve as that guy that, if something does happen to Tannehill, that you have a backup that you're comfortable with, still potentially taking this team into the playoffs.
Well, even next season, say they draft one in this next draft, and he's backing Tannehill up next year, like, you have really, there's, I guess, more of an excuse because he's getting in. If he has to go in, he's going in and he's taking his lumps. Like, really, he's learning the speed of the NFL game and everything. Mm-hmm. So you give him that experience, but I would much prefer them to do that versus just hanging on the Woodside and being like, oh yeah, guys, this guy right here, he's the future of y'all's team. Like, that's going to be a hard pass. Like, no.
I like Woodside as a I like him as, I don't even know if I'd say as a backup, just because we ain't really seen him, But from what I hear, that Woodside's a gunslinger. He likes to throw the ball. They like his attitude. They like his tenacity. He's not scared to go out there and try and make a play. They feel like he's smart with the football. And I've heard this from, like, I'm not one of those guys that say, oh, I got a source or anything. But I've heard this from somebody who's very, very, very close to the team, that this is what they like about him. Mm. Like, they really think, like, he's a really good backup. Now, I don't know as far as like a starting quarterback, but they love the attitude that he has, and he kind of embodies what Vrabel and J-Rob are all about, and the whole, kind of Titan mentality. Mm-hmm. But I do agree with you, Tyler. Like, you don't want this guy as your future, I wouldn't think. Like, you'd look at Justin Fields. Like, he played better today, but you throw somebody in there right away and they're running around like a chicken with their head cut off. I just think it's a more ideal situation. Even if you draft somebody, say, okay, look this year, guys, like the guy in Houston, Davis Mills. Mm-hmm. Like, he's playing okay,
right,
for what he is, but he's the type of guy that you probably would want to sit for a couple years.
Yep.
He's a third round guy, and he's showing that he has some ability. But if you sit this Davis Mills maybe for like 2 years and you kind of let him groom, he might end up turning into more of a first round type of prospect.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think it makes a lot of sense about Logan Woodside because, I mean, with that backup guy, an ideal situation is that you have somebody that is not, and I'm trying to think of who it was that they always had to do this with, but it's not that situation where if something happens and the backup has to come in, you have to completely change everything you do and just pretty much baby them and just little short dink and dunk passes and just really like a kindergarten version of an NFL offense. But with Woodside, I mean, it seems like they would feel comfortable just throwing him out there and just keep things rolling the way it was.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like how they feel about him as far as that goes, But I mean,
now obviously his productivity probably wouldn't be as good, but
who
he would be
knows? Like
comfortable
we
doing
haven't
the same
seen him.
things.
We haven't
Right.
seen him. Who knows? Like he could go out there and throw an interception every play.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I guess that's my thing with Woodside is right now I wouldn't trust him to take over the team and really like lead us somewhere. But at the same time, I would love for him to prove me wrong. Like if that's who they're going to roll with, dude, by all means, prove me wrong, and I will come back and say, hey, he proved me wrong. This guy is cut out. He can lead this team if it comes to that. So, but I mean, Tanner, that's a good question. Kind of changing the subject. I do want to get to David's comment here. Game should have been over after that pick six. I think we could end up with the number 1 seed. Hardest game we have left is the Rams. Rest of games, I believe we could win 14-3, hopefully, and tighten up to you, David. And, that's to start kind of closing out the show. I do want to get your opinion on that, Rossi, is, what do you think? You think we're going to, this team with the remaining schedule can push towards that number 1 seed and get that bye week and the home playoff game? And something that kind of goes with that is Bill saying we have to get healthy. And, we definitely do.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the schedule, like you got the Rams, New Orleans look pretty good today, but was it a fluke? They had the Mike White guy in, but they're scrapping. I don't think, New Orleans is at home. So I think we're going to win that game. You go to New England.
That's one that scares me.
That could be because New England always plays tough, and then you got the Vrabel and Belichick, and you got the history there where they're, with the thing that Vrabel did last year where he did that thing during the, I couldn't remember, it was like the punt or something.
Yeah,
that they
couple
ended up
years
running
ago,
like 3 minutes off the clock or something.
Something like that. And then it was like the timeout thing. And then we got Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh. The only games I think that we should lose is not should lose, but that we could lose is like the Rams and Pittsburgh. I mean, we should be able to take care of everybody else, like even the Patriots, we should be able to take care of them, at least win, but I've been saying, I said 13-4, and I think I'm gonna stick with that. I think, and hey, I mean, look, if we win 13 games, I mean, I think if you look at the AFC right now, there's a lot of parity. There's not near as much parity in the NFC as there is the AFC. The AFC has been duking it out, just back and forth. I think if you go 13-4, you're probably going to at least be number 2 or number 1, depending on like how Baltimore ends up and all them guys.
Yeah, and I mean, even looking at the Bills, like today, Tanner and I were beginning to wonder if the Titans just broke the Bills, because I believe it was up until halftime them and the Dolphins were tied at 3. And like you said, I'm trying to remember what exactly I had. I think I had for our record anywhere from 11-6 to 13-4. I can't remember exactly what it was in there. But like you said, I feel like that could be a record that is, especially if you get to that 12-5 or 13-4 record, that could very well be good enough to get the number 1 seed.
Yeah, I think the 1 seed is definitely doable. I mean, obviously there's a couple concerns. Like the Raiders are a team that right now look like they're starting to kind of come on strong.
But
And
how
then
long can they
obviously-
keep that up with the interim head coach?
Yeah, see,
I mean, really.
I don't know, because it's also one of those situations where did this guy come in and give a midseason Ryan Tannehill spark? I mean,
he might be better. They might
yeah,
be better,
you never know. And Derek Carr, I don't know completely how I feel about him yet, but I feel like we'll get a lot more about him now with this new head coach. We'll at least know whether or not it was the coaching situation. And then, I mean, I don't think the Bengals are going to be up there towards the end of the season competing for the number 1 seed. The Ravens definitely could make a case for them. The Bills still could be up there in that range. Mm-hmm. So I think 13-4 would get it. I think at 12-5, you might come down to a tiebreaker, which in the situation with the Bills, you would take that.
Mm-hmm.
You would take, let's see, I don't think they've played. Definitely haven't played the Raiders. Ravens. I don't think there's any other teams that they've played necessarily that you would.
I think for all the other teams, it would come down to like AFC wins. Like,
yeah,
I think
AFC.
that's kind of how they determine the tiebreaker, and that's where really the Jets game could come back to bite us in the ass by not winning it.
Yeah, you're right.
To be honest, I was going to say that puts the Titans in great shape because they're in one of the worst divisions in the AFC. You've got wins coming against the Colts. You're going to sweep the Jaguars. You're going to sweep the Texans. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't see them dropping any of those games. So right there, you have 6 AFC wins going for you. Whereas some of these other teams are in tougher divisions where they're possibly dropping some games within their division down the stretch here.
Right. Well, guys, we're starting to close in on an hour and a half here, and this time's just flew by. It's been a blast having you on, Rossi, just talking about this game and just Titans in general. And I just have to say, it feels so good to sweep the Colts this year. I was telling Tanner earlier, before the season started, we kind of done a AFC South breakdown of how we thought each team was going to do. And really, I was taking up for him because he had a lot of Colts fans coming at him in the comments like, oh, you're saying the Colts are only going to have 8 to 9 wins. And, they were just talking a whole lot of shit before the season. I told him, I was like, hey, when the games get here, you can't stand you.
I'm losing you a little bit.
I want you still after we play the games. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we were losing you a little bit. I was on my end. I don't know.
Am I good?
Yeah, I think you're good now.
Am I good now?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was telling all.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
I was telling all those Colts fans, hey, when we get in the season, y'all come on back to the channel and let me know what happened. And it feels good knowing the Titans have swept them. And our only division games are 2 against the Texans and 1 more against the Jaguars. So I like our chances of really just having a clean sweep of the division this year.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing to beat the Colts twice, man. Like, I just can't stand them. I don't know if it's just me being a Titans fan or whatever else, but I just cannot stand the Colts. Like, and shout out to Bring the Juice and those guys, but like, they're our rivals, man. Like, and they always seem to have our number in the past, and it's so good to finally be consistently beating them again. Luck used to just tear us up, and it's just so good to have their number again.
Yeah.
So
it really is. And like I said, guys, I don't know if y'all have anything else to throw on this game? And if not, Tanner, you can go ahead and be wrapping us up here.
Yeah, I don't have anything else. Just thanks to Rossi for coming on again. It was awesome, and I agree. Time kind of flew by. I'm missing Sunday Night Football here a little bit. But,
yeah.
This has been all for the show. Thanks to everybody for coming and watching the live show. Am I a little bit behind? Y'all hear me good?
No,
I feel like my Wi-Fi just.
We can hear you.
It's telling me my connection's unstable.
Yeah, no,
okay.
We hear you good.
Okay, just making sure. It was telling me my connection was messing up again. Anyways, thanks for coming and watching the live show. Going to try to be doing some more of these here in the next couple of weeks. This has been Titans Time, and as always, tighten up.
Yeah, tighten up.